We just left the quixotic Elsa and took the navette back to the centre of town. I rather think that I'd better attend a meeting of the Phare group at the Lion d'Or this morning, the vicar said. I will show you the benefits of a proper newsletter, a group of professionals who have banded together to share their knowledge. Michael Bernstein introduced me. It was now pissing it down with rain, hardly what you expect from the south of France. The beachfront was being almost washed away as the navette turned towards the conference centre. The vicar spotted the Lion d'Or straight ahead of us and flung the car door wide open. The driver slammed on his brakes, cursed us in his best French, and the vicar calmly stepped out. Thank you, sir. Most kind, excellent customer service. We were probably only 10 yards away, but we were still drenched by the time we reached the meeting room. The vicar paused in the doorway before indulging in his royal walkabout, bowing to those who greeted him and giving a few smokers a wide berth. Such a filthy habit, he said, fanning the smoke away from his face with his hand and making a great show of his choice of a chair close to the open window. I sat opposite him and stared out at the few brave attendees running beneath the pollarded plane trees with coats over their heads. Inside, all the talk was about the recent what-if revelations. Bernstein came over and commiserated with the vicar on his ill fortune. David, I'd like you to attend one of our gatherings. I'm afraid you are rather more the topic of conversation than you might wish. I want to assure you that I was not the source of any of the information. I was worried about the reference to our meeting, in case my secretary had let slip the contents of an email that I sent her yesterday. Please, do not distress yourself, Michael. I'm sure your house is entirely in order. Mother's the word, as they say. How is Moutal? Ah, yes. I'm pleased you picked up on my reference. I did hope it wasn't indiscreet. I let the conversation wash over me. Like what? Like a dishwasher, a car wash, a £5.75 hair wash from the girl next door? Am I the only one who finds hair washes unbelievably erotic? Several small groups rushed past our window in search of either coffee or lunch. I watched them absent-mindedly until I was woken from my reveries. We're getting very French here, you notice, by the sight of a square man whose legs didn't fit properly, with a black leather coat held flat over his head. He turned and looked up at the window. Even before he did, I knew, cue big adrenaline moment, that I was looking down on no less than the drum-rolling, fanfaring, heavy on the marler, stand up and God save the Queen, damn the cursed pimple, the orange eyebrow. May seem funny now, but it wasn't then. I pulled back from the window and told the vicar. The orange eyebrow is down there watching us. He was listening to the conversations about the What If newsletter and didn't want to be distracted. We do not need the orange eyebrow games now, he laughed. Let us deal with one villain at a time. Games? The man had legs the size of tree trunks and a spare face on the back of his head. Hardly a game. I'm going to follow him, I said. He must have been involved with Smagala as he tried to stop you speaking at the conference. I should have ended this long ago. I assure you there is no connection, he said. Do you not think that it is a little wet for a game of cops and robbers? You'll be soaked. Buggery snozzle to that. This is personal. I've a score to settle, I said, getting up out of my seat and hurrying out of the room. I will meet you at 1 o'clock on Malvolia's boat. Do not be late. We shall not be staying long. A brief show of support for the pretty boys. Why does it always have to be so wet? Even when my stories are based in the south of France. The orange eyebrow was making his way along the street, going into all of the restaurants as if looking for someone. Following along 20 yards behind, I unfortunately had to stand outside, as otherwise I would have lost sight of him. So there I stood, getting drenched from stem to stern, as they say in Philadelphia, learning the names of every single restaurant in that sodden row. The Pirot Premiere, followed by Le Radeau, followed by the very French-sounding Asian fast food, followed by... Well, actually, I can't remember the next one, but, you get the idea. At first, I held my coat over my head, but it wasn't long before my jeans were not just damp, they were even wetter than the night on the vicar's boat. Talk about swamp bags. I gave up trying to shield myself and took my drenching like a man, which had the added advantage of freeing up my hands so that I could get out old Victoria Filmum. This was the perfect job for an undercover cameraman. The orange eyebrow, T-O-E, or toe, as we could maybe call him, had dashed into a shop and came out carrying an umbrella. Fucking wimp, I said to myself. He then headed away from the Palais down the Rue d'Antibes, pausing for a while outside the bizarrely named Old England shop, which had a large selection of large, warm Burberry overcoats in the window. I filmed him all the way down to the wonderfully named Rue de Frère de Casanova. Only the French could come up with a name like that, where he entered the touring hotel. I waited until he wandered up the stairs before presenting myself in front of an astonished receptionist. Mon ami qui vient d'arriver, il a quelle chambre? Room 217. 117. I'd found his lair, with barely seconds to spare before I was due to meet the vicar on Malvolio's boat. "Welcome aboard," the vicar greeted me, another large gin palace. I'd been so intrigued in following the orange eyebrow that I'd not thought about the consequences of getting so damn wet. I stood there, in the corner of the room, looking like I'd just been for a swim in the Mediterranean, fully clothed. There was a puddle expanding outwards from me on the carpet. "We must find Malvolio," the vicar said, and he led me by the hand through all the distinguished worthies in search of our host. Everyone was there. Smigala, Wendy Airhole, even Bremo, who managed Billy G. Each time someone queried my appearance, the vicar told a different story. By the time he found Malvolio, it had become, "I was clipping my toenails and one of the clippings fell in the water. Punk was good enough to retrieve it for me. I do like to keep these things for posterity. After all, imagine how much a toenail clipping of Einstein's would be worth." "Whatever," Malvolio said in that slow, dark way of his. "And?" The vicar produced a shopping bag. "I took the liberty of buying Punk a few new clothes. Would you perhaps have a bedroom and some towels that he can use to get changed?" He handed me the clothes. "I had to guess the sizes, and the French had nothing to match your very questionable tastes. But they will at least be dry. I assume it would be too much to ask you to leave the current clothes in the dustbin." I doubt that I've ever been in such an expensive room, and I'd certainly never worn such designer togs. I returned with my wet clothes stuffed in the plastic bag, ready to party. The vicar was, of course, ready to leave. "Punk, good. I think I now know everything. What do you make of this?" He handed me a CD of the Glamour Twins album. "Does this not say something to you? I knew Malvolio was involved. Look, it's right there in front of you." I looked again. Just a standard promo CD with all the usual contact information. "Blind as ever," he laughed. "And it would seem we have also missed this." He pointed to a copy of the Medem News. Halfway down the What If newsletter, it read, "What if we asked for information about the vicar's wife? Send to thevicar@whatif.com. I have no complaint about their attack on me, but my wife, that is an entirely different matter, you understand. Smigala has overstepped the mark. This is where we get down and dirty."
That boy's not good, not so good. He's got ears the size of a deer face, broken nose and a twisted face, with a voice that...
The knot in the pit of my stomach now took on the proportions of a large snake taking a painful stroll through my internal organs, and my mouth was so dry I couldn't swallow. Shitty shit. Shit.